Welcome to the She Is His podcast by the Pretty and Wise Collective. Join us every other Friday as we get together with a group of ladies and we discuss living out the lives that Jesus has called us to. We will dive deep and laugh. Maybe we cry as we talk about some of the issues that we face in our everyday lives. This week, we're talking about marriage with the whole Pretty and Wise Collective team. So grab your drink and let's take a listen as we hear from the ladies.
Hello and welcome back to the She Is His podcast. I'm Lindsay Terry. I'm your host, and I'm here with everybody again. It's been like a couple months where we're all together, but I'm going to reintroduce you in case this is your first time listening. I'm here with Tanya Glansman, with my father's daughter, also Pretty and Wise, with Angie Reese, with Pretty and Wise, with Lori Gregory, our newest Pretty and Wise gal, and with Gay Idol, who's my mother, first and foremost. She's also part of Pretty and Wise and has a great website and blog, Captive Heart. And then you probably met Alex at the intro. She's part of Pretty and Wise. She's going to share her thoughts at the end. Today, we're talking about marriage, intentional marriage, in a culture of chaos that doesn't always honor marriage. And so we want to talk about helping you and ourselves embrace God's design for marriage with freedom, clarity, and purpose. And we're going to be doing that by unpacking biblical submission, which I know is a dirty word, but it's really not. It's a beautiful thing. Mutual flourishing and the power of intentionality in marriage. So first, I just want to say this. God's design for marriage is good. It's wonderful. I've been married 15 years, which I think is the least amount of time of everyone on this team. But my husband and I, we just celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary. And when we were on our way to dinner, you know, we were just kind of reminiscing over the past 15 years of our marriage. And one of the things we've both said is, and we've been through some real ups and downs in our marriage, but one of the things we both said was, you know, if I could change anything about our marriage, and there are some things I would think he would probably say this, I would change that. His answer was, I would have married you sooner.
Oh, that's sweet.
And that was my answer too. I mean, there are things I would have changed, but it would be me, my choices and things like that I would change. But yeah, I think when marriage in the way that God designed it, when that's your pursuit, not that we're doing it perfectly by any stretch, but when our pursuit is to do marriage the way God designed it, man, those are the kind of thoughts you think, I wish I would have done this sooner. This is the best thing I've ever done. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's also the best thing I've ever done. And so I want to start from that place. That God's design, maybe your marriage isn't really good right now, but God's design for marriage is good and beautiful and the best thing you'll ever do. So I want to start from that place today as we move forward and talk about some of the challenging parts of navigating a good, healthy marriage. And so we're not talking about performance, perfection, or power struggles. Really, marriage is about partnership, purpose, and presence. And that scripture that's going to anchor us today is Psalm 127:1. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Our marriage really has to be God doing the work of building us together and making us one. And then it's going to be real good. So let's start with talking about some things that scripture says about marriage. It's not good for man to be alone. We saw that when God created Adam. That marriage is God ordained, a covenant, not a contract. It's a picture of Christ in the church. We hear that from Ephesians 5. It's partnership, not passivity. It's purpose, not perfection. Marriage mirrors the gospel. And that's something that this picture of God, the Trinity, having perfect unity within himself and still like he's whole without us, right? he's whole. But what does he call us, the church? His bride.
Bride, yeah.
And so I think sometimes in marriage, a lot of our problems stem from I'm looking for my spouse to make me whole instead of the Lord to make us whole. He's the only one who can really make us whole, so that then I can have this wonderful oneness and unity with my husband. And it's not dependent on, is he doing all the things that make me feel like a whole person for me to be happy?
It's too big of a job for a single man.
It sure is.
So take that on.
And it's too big of a job for us to be that for our husbands.
Absolutely.
You can't be their everything. You can be their almost, but not their everything.
Yes. Okay. That should be a shirt. You're
I'm your almost. You gotta be your everything.
And they can't be your everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Or are we meant to be?
I loved this quote from Gary Thomas. He wrote in Sacred Marriage, "Marriage is a profound spiritual discipline." That really, I could stop the quote there and just kind of chew on that for a while. Marriage is a spiritual discipline precisely because it calls us beyond ourselves. How do you feel like in your however many years of marriage, marriage has called you beyond yourself as a spiritual discipline?
Every time we get in an argument, and I got to get out of my head and get a little bit into his too, so that come to, a reasonable solution to what our argument is. You may not completely agree in the end, but at least we agree to move forward in it. Whatever that argument is, because it took us a long time to learn how to argue.
To consider someone else when you're in the heat of it. All you're thinking about is you.
Thinking is you.
Yeah.
Robbie has been on this journey of self-growth for several years now. And I think that he has challenged me to grow myself and to improve myself in lots of different aspects of my life. It's very easy to just say, I'm good enough. And, spiritual growth, as well as, physical and emotional growth. But when your spouse is moving in that direction, if you decide not to, then it's really going to cause a lot of problems. Yeah. And so I've had to decide to get on board with that. And it looks different for me and him. But I think that is something that has been very profound in our relationship. Especially last year.
I think I really had to come to learn and accept that Luke and I are profoundly different people. We think differently, we behave differently, we process things differently. And instead of being frustrated that he did not think, behave, or process the same way that I did, I had to come to learn to appreciate his differences and see them as a compliment to me. And that took a long time. Yeah. Because I really just didn't understand why he thought or felt that way, and really thought the way I thought or felt about things was the right way. And so I was kind of selfish and self-centered in a lot of places.
Mine's along that nature, just not being able to control, I thought he should feel the way I felt, and I thought I was in the right, and, and I can't change him. And that's real frustrating. Impulse you. Impulse.
Yeah. I think very similar lines, but the way that marriage has been a spiritual discipline for me that has moved me beyond myself is the rude awakening that my life isn't about me, and all the people in my life aren't about me. And we don't just go the way I want to go because that's where I want to go. And we don't just do the things I want to do because that's what I want to do. And we don't just think the things I want to think because that's what I want to think. I never realized there are two things in my life that really have opened my eyes to how insanely selfish I am that I never would have seen without, and that is marriage and child rearing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You're like, wow, I thought I was such a selfless, giving person. And then I got married, and you're like, wow, I'm real selfish. And then you have kids, and you're like, wow, I'm even more selfish than I thought. Like, those are two things that I think they're spiritual disciplines. So that quote from Jerry Thomas really kind of hit me like, yeah, God has used my marriage to discipline me spiritually and open my eyes to things that were not yielded to God, that I wouldn't have seen without my spouse either directly or indirectly pointing them out. You know what I'm saying? So I know the biggest thing most people are when they think about biblical marriage and what a godly marriage looks like, you're on one side of the fence or the other with this word submission. So, I mean, I have a little bit of stuff written down to share about it, but I am wondering for you in that word submission, has your view changed on that over the years? What does that look like in your marriage? Talk to me.
I definitely thought that was a dirty word whenever I first got married. I hated the idea of submission. I was an independent woman, and I didn't need a man to tell me anything. And I was certainly not going to submit to them because that means that I'm under their thumb and I have to do everything that they want me to do. And that's not going to happen. Like, that was my attitude when I first got married, which is a horrible attitude to have. And I remember an older lady in church and I having a discussion about that. And I don't even remember how it started. I just remember how impactful it was that she explained to me that being under submission to someone else is a gift and it's a privilege, and it should take away a burden from us instead of add it to our plates, because it's out of love that we submit to someone because they love us so much.
Yeah.
And that if we're willing to humble ourselves to a point of submission to our husbands, and it's a healthy relationship, then, and that's a big caveat there. It has to be a healthy relationship where you're both kind of in the same space, or you can't submit to someone. It's almost impossible to, because you have to feel safe, you have to feel loved, and you have to feel like they have your best interests at heart. And I guess, you know, as an immature newlywed, I was not at that place. But I grew to that, to the point now, to almost to a fault, to where for a little while I felt like I was so submitted that I almost had to ask permission in order to do anything. And then growing past that pendulum swing, to the middle, which we've talked about a lot in recent episodes about finding that middle ground, in that we are submitting to one another.
Yes.
And it's not me submitting to the authority of my husband because he's the boss of me, but it is a mutual submission under God's authority.
Yes.
And I think that that has been a huge growth for me in the 25 years that I've been married.
I love that. And that brings me to this other quote from Watchman Nee, who was an amazing preacher of the gospel. Okay, you should read up on his life, but this is something he said. Submission is not about authority. It's not about obedience. It's all about relationships of love and respect. And this point that, end quote there, this point that Jesus was submitted to the Father, not because he was less than God. He was God, but out of love for God and his role in the Trinity. Like, that even Jesus, it doesn't mean he's not equal to or less than. It is an act of love to submit to someone. But to your point about the importance of the man you're submitting to, if you are an unmarried sister, listen up. That's important. You got to ask yourself, when you're looking at men to spend your life with, a man you're going to spend the rest of your life with, not just is he cute and cut, okay? But also, and yeah, he goes to church and he believes in God. Great. Okay, cool. That's great, but that doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah. No.
Those are, I mean, the cute and cut thing, that's extra. But really, this is a man who's going to help alter the course of your life. This is a man who's going to be by your side when your parents die.
Yeah.
When you're unable to make important decisions and is he going to be the person that's going to be able to make those decisions alongside you? Is he going to be able to have those kind of hard conversations? Is that a man you can rely on in that way? And is that a man who is seeking God, not just goes to church and believes in God, but seeking you the guidance of the Lord? So if you're not married, take those things into consideration.
And also, right along with that, is this man going to help you to raise children that are going to follow Christ?
Yes.
Are you on the same page in that way? Because I think that in relationships that I've been in the past that I thought I was so in love with so and so, when we started talking about having children, we had different views, and that is major and should be red flags and should be, game changer for you in a conversation if you want to have kids.
Yeah.
Can I just say something about the word submission? I just want to make sure we all understand. I know we here do, but submission is not the same thing as subservience.
Yeah, that's good.
If when you're being submissive to anyone, it doesn't mean you're under the thumb of.
Yeah.
So get that in your head. That's not what that's about. And before it tells wives to be submissive to their husbands, you can't just cherry pick verses out of somewhere. You've got to. I would encourage you to go do a deep dive in that scripture and find out what was happening in Ephesians and Ephesus at the time in the church when that was given. Also, before it goes in to tell wives to be submissive to husbands, beforehand, it says submit to one another.
Yes.
We are all to submit to one another
Out of reverence for Christ.
out of reverence for Christ. That means husbands and wives are to submit to one another. It just addresses that specifically for a specific reason, and it goes on to address the men to love their wives as themselves and as Christ loved the church, who was willing, by the way, to give his very life and die for the church.
Yeah. I think a couple things. One, Christ also lived for us.
Yes.
And so that's the example too, to our spouses. So if you're looking for a man, if you don't have a man and you're looking for a man, these are all things to be thinking about.
Yes.
About inviting a godly man into your life like that. Another thing I want to talk about is that in Ephesians 5, which is where we're kind of referencing this verse about wives submit to your husbands, or the verse in 5:21, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. The Greek word for submit, I'm going to butcher this because I don't actually speak Greek, is hupotasso. It makes me think of hippopotamus. Hupotasso, and it has the long line over the O, so that tells me it's long O vowel. But anyway, that word is a military term, and it means to voluntarily. Nobody can make you submit. It's your choice. Voluntarily place oneself under order for a common mission. You can't submit to someone, one, if it's not your choice. It's got to be your choice. Two, you got to be going the same direction. So just like Angie, you were talking about, like your husband was on this journey and you're like, I got to get on this journey, and we're not in the same, exact place, but you're both headed the same direction. You both have the same mission, even if it looks different in how it's being played out. That's a way you're now able to submit to him. For the common mission. It's not about inferiority. It's about unity and purpose. And I think thinking about submission that way, that's beautiful. And also, like the little old lady you met with, that submission's a gift and it should relieve you of burden. I think we don't highlight that enough as women, that truly the fact that it is not all riding on me.
Say that again.
What a wonderful gift. It is, we live like it's all riding on me, ride or die on me. This thing is going to either make it or break it based on me. And what a stressful place to be
It's not riding and dying on your husband either.
It's not either, because you're mutually submitting to each other, right? However, your husband, I might ruffle some feathers, but just get over it. I love you. In the name of Jesus, I love you. Your husband is more equipped to let it ride or die on him than you are as a wife.
Yeah, it took me a long
God
time.
designed them that way. God designed them. You might have a great capacity for it, but God designed men to have a greater capacity. So let them, okay? And yeah, just like you were talking about, mutual submission precedes the specific instructions to husbands and wives. First, it talks about submit to one another. Out of what? Not out of duty, not out of reverence for Christ. Because of your love of God and your respect of God, submit to your spouse. Goes both ways. And then it talks about, yes, wives, submit to your husbands, but as they're your head. But then it says husbands, they're called to lay down their lives like Christ did for the church. So submission doesn't silence your voice. It invites it to the table under safety and godly leadership. I love that point.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like my husband places a high value. I'm very blessed. My husband is a gem of a man, but I feel like he places a high value on my thoughts and opinions on things and how I feel about stuff.
Yeah.
But there have been times where he's like, I love you, and I know this is important to you, and I know you feel this way, but I really feel that that's not the direction for our family right now. And there have been times that I have kicked and screamed and acted like a baby, and then the Lord's like, yeah, see, you're the way you're acting, just like I tell my kids when they're told no and then they act like boogers and pitch a fit. And I'm like, see, the way you're acting tells me that you weren't ready for this. Right. I kind of feel like Lord was like, the way you're acting tells me, Lancy. Right? And then there have been other times where I've said, wow, I don't like that answer, but okay, I trust you because I love you. That means I need to trust you in this. And you know what?
And he's got a good track record.
He's got it. When you're right.
He has your and your children's best interest.
Absolutely.
I would say as well that, first of all, neither me nor my husband were the prettiest peach on the tree 29 years ago when we got married. And we have to have grace for our husbands to grow into the men of God that they were created to be, just like you. We want grace to grow into the women of God we were created to be, as a husband and as a parent. Like, nobody automatically knows how to do those things.
Yep.
And we come into the marriage with expectations based on either what we saw or didn't see in our family of origin.
Yeah.
And when our spouses fail to meet our expectations, we can be very disappointed with that. Also, as women, we can be tremendously controlling.
Yeah.
And we think we know, and we want things to go a certain way, and we can try to exert that control over our husbands. And for me, you asked initially, how has the idea of submission changed over the course of our marriage?
Yeah.
When I was first married, like Angie, but maybe for different reasons, every adult who had ever been in my life who had had authority over me had abused me. So I pretty much had the mantra of, you're not the boss of me, don't tell me what to do, because I correlated authority with control with abuse.
Yeah.
And they were all together. And my husband is the least controlling person that I know. He's a great guy. And then the Lord brought me to a place of, I remember the day that Luke said to me, you tell me you want me to be the head of our household, but you argue with me anytime I try to make a decision. And I was like, that's not true. And then Jesus was like, yeah, it is. And so then I submitted with my mouth, but not with my heart. So then I went through a season of, he would say something and I would not agree. And I would be like, okay.
Yeah, I did that too.
And so, but he wasn't looking for that. He wanted that mutual agreement, or
Wanted your trust.
he wanted my trust, but I didn't trust him.
And respect.
Yeah.
And respect, right. And he would tell me, I don't want you to just say okay with your mouth. I want you to say okay with your heart. And I would say, well, I can't say okay if I don't feel okay. I'm not going to just say what you want me to say because you want me to say it. I was special. And then the Lord really revealed to me the truth of the responsibility and the mantle of leadership that he had placed upon my husband, and what a God-given burden that is, that place of responsibility that we have taken off of us as the wife, where ultimately before the Lord, my husband is responsible for the direction that my family goes in.
Yes.
And so I submit to my husband as unto the Lord, with the knowledge that at the end of the day, my husband is held accountable for the well-being of our family. And that's a burden that I don't have.
That you don't have.
Yeah. And I'm thankful that I don't have that.
Yes.
And in that, developing a grace for my husband and appreciation for the burden that he bears as the head of our household, and that accountability before God, I can say, well, you made that decision. And there were times when he would make a decision that I would be like, okay, and then it didn't work out right, and I would, in my heart, be snotty about it.
Just listen.
That's right. If you just would have did what I thought, this wouldn't have happened. And then it hindered him from being confident as a decision maker, as the head and leader of our home. Because guess what? He's learning as he grew, just like I was. And there had to be grace and space to learn and grow as a man and a father and a husband and a leader. And what we think about our husbands is more important to them than what any human being on this earth thinks about them.
Yeah.
Yes. Can't be more important than what God thinks about them. But any other human being, what we offer them and the way we love them and have grace for them and encourage them and support them and cheer them on, has more value than any other human being on this planet. So we have a responsibility to love them so that they can love us the way they were called to love us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the point of giving your husband the grace and space to learn how to follow God for your family, how to lead your family well, that's so important, because I think we want them to know how to do it right away. And a lot of our husbands didn't grow up with that, or maybe their dads did it, but they didn't know how to model it or teach them how to do that as well, or whatever. Sometimes you might know a lot of information, but until you have to live it out, that's a totally different thing. And so
Why do we always think we know better?
because it's our thought, and then so of course we think it's right. We're thinking it. Duh, it's right. Not really. That's just, truthfully, you wouldn't think you were right if you didn't think you were right.
Yeah.
Right?
It's cyclical.
I think women can be bad at that too. Yes.
Yes.
They can just assume, like,
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, I don't want to be the opposite, but, that we know how to do it better. And or if they don't know how to do it. And so we should do it because we know better. And even if you don't outwardly think that, if your actions sort of speak that, they sense that.
They can feel it, and then they don't do anything, and then we get mad at them because they're not doing anything.
And then they're like in a,
Nothing I do is right, so why am I going to do it? Because you're not happy, no matter
or you're
what I
just
do.
going to do it anyways.
But if a man feels like that, he's just going to be like, go for
Yeah.
it. Fine.
Well, and just a side note, one of the things you said, Lori, about sometimes we just think as women that we know the right way to do it or whatever, that makes me think of one of the areas I am learning to trust my husband's instincts and insight in is raising our boys, who are now becoming young men. And they're kind of moving out of being under, mama's wing to gravitating towards dad and wanting to do the manly things. And sometimes my husband wants to deal with an issue with them in a way that I'm like, I don't like that. I don't feel like that's gentle enough or whatever. And he's like,
He's raising them to be men.
he's raising them to be men. And Lindsay, you're treating them like little boys.
Yeah.
And they are young men.
That's hitting.
And that is really hard. And I have had a conversation recently with another mom who is struggling with some behavior problems with her son, and her husband wants to handle it one way and she wants to handle another. And when we were talking about it, I was like, I think you should trust your husband a little more here. And I only say that because I also struggle with, sometimes I think because I'm the mom, I know how to parent best because I'm with them all the time. But your husband knows more about being a man and being a boy than I will ever know. And so he's got some insights in that area I need to trust more than I do. So, I mean, lots of areas. That's just one that came to mind. Sometimes as moms, we think immediately we know the best way to parent because we're the mother. But sometimes your husband knows some things too. So yes, giving your husband space to learn to lead well, that submission doesn't silence your voice, but it invites it to the table under safety and godly leadership that he's still, working out. Proverbs 31 tells us that a godly husband treasures his wife's wisdom. So submission, we're talking about healthy versions, okay? The healthy version of submission is your insight is still a treasure to your husband, not just considered, a treasure. That true biblical submission is beautiful surrender to God's order, not man's control. Your influence as a wife is spiritual and generational. And if you don't have kids in your home anymore, you still have an influence to the young women around you, to the young mothers who need this kind of insight, to your grandchildren, and to your adult children still. I love this. You've probably heard it before. Matthew Henry did a commentary a billion years ago, but I just loved his view on submission that he wrote about here. Eve was not taken out of Adam's head to top him, nor out of his feet to be trampled on by him, but out of his side to be equal with him, under his arm to be protected, and near his heart to be loved.
Oh, I like that. I've never heard that before.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad that's new. I just loved that picture of submission. So let's move on from submission. We talked enough about that. You get it. It's a gift, not a gag order. Read Ephesians 5, do a deep dive there. But can we talk about intentional intimacy? I don't just mean sex because my mother's here. Ew.
She had sex.
Only twice. Only twice. No. But how to build the bonds in your marriage on purpose. So what does it look like to pursue your husband with intention? We're talking spiritual, emotional, physical, practical rhythms in your life. Talk to me. What does it look like for you to pursue your husband intentionally?
We all got it real quiet.
I know what Tanya's going to say, and she's itching to say it. Just say it. How do you keep the man happy?
Cook for him and have lots of sex with him.
That's her marriage advice.
Truly, though, I think learning how they like to be loved, because we all have love languages. Most men like to be loved physically. Words of affirmation tend to be super important for men, because just like we're little girls on the inside, men are little boys on the inside, and they're very insecure and hard on themselves. And they need to know that they are our most favorite special person, that they are our Superman, even when they're not acting their best. If we treat them as the man that they have the ability to be, the man they were created to be. That's how we treat our children, right? We treat them as they have the potential to become. We have to treat our husbands that way too. And I think loving them the way they like to be loved, and figuring out what that is for your man and doing it because it's important.
Yeah.
And your husband's hopefully going to be around a lot longer than your children are. So, one of the things that I say to young moms every time I have the opportunity to speak is, you get up in the middle of the night and feed that baby, even when you're tired, even when you don't want to, even when you'd rather be sleeping. You do things for those babies despite how you feel, because you're the person who can fill that need for them. And that is a privilege. And you see it as a privilege. And guess what? Your husband's the same way.
Yeah.
You are the one that can fill certain needs for them that nobody else can fill. They can't get that from anybody else. And that is a privilege. And we can't put the needs of our children above the needs of our husband.
That's a game-changing mentality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get it, guys. Yeah. I think that one of the big things in my personal relationship was different phases of our lives that, you have chapters of your marriage, and a certain chapter in our marriage when Robbie was in the military, he was deploying and would be home for a year and then gone for a year and then home for a year and then gone for a year. It was very hard. And when he was home, I had to make the efforts to find common ground. Like, what is he interested in? He was really into MMA for a while. Do I care about MMA? No, I do not.
What is MMA for
The mixed martial arts, beating
Like
people
cage
up.
fighting.
Cage fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about
It does. It's like jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. No, MMA. Yeah, not anime. Although some men are really into anime. But, finding out what he was wanting to be involved in, and the reality of the situation at that time was, because of our maturity level, he was going to pursue that whether I was on board or not. And I could have allowed that to become a wedge between us, and become a nag at, you're spending too much time here. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're not with us. You're over there at the gym. It very easily could have become that. But instead, I was like, okay, how can I involve myself in this within my comfort zone and show my support of his pursuit of this for right now, whether I agree with it, love it, or not. And so I worked the front desk at the gym that he went to. I actually took kickboxing classes. I watched the practices and listened to the coach so that I would understand the lingo and what he was talking about. And in the end, I actually ended up being his corner man for a fight, because after doing it for a while, he trusted me.
Yeah.
And it really helped us to grow together. And then when he was done with that, it was okay. And we were both able to put it down and move on to something else. And now, for a while, it could be that your kids are the center of your universe. It could be a hobby that he has. And they tend to get really fixated on one or two things at a time. And so showing interest and support of those things can keep your marriage from becoming a source of tension.
Yeah.
I guess is really.
On the flip side, some husbands just need a hobby, and you don't have to be involved in it.
Oh, yeah. You definitely need your own space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rod's been golf through the years. I have never been one of these women who get complained because he's going golfing. I always encourage him to. Why? Because he is a better human being when he comes back to be after being out and golfing than when he left. He needs that. That's his outlet, his thing.
Yeah.
Probably what I have felt at through the years has failed myself, and not finding more time and space for the things that I absolutely love that he just doesn't really care about. And
So he could have his thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
not that you have to have a thing just because he does, but I do have things, and sometimes I've neglected them just because, I don't know, I think that's the way that I was supposed to do. But that's always worked well for both of us, for me to encourage him in that, because he doesn't want me to golf with him. I've tried that, and I don't like golfing. I did sports when I was younger, and I was good at a lot of things. And if I wasn't good, forget about it because I was too competitive. And when I golfed with him, forget about it. And I didn't want to slow him down, and he didn't want me to slow him down either. He's a very good golfer. So it just works so much better to let him have his space and his time with his guys and do his thing. And he comes back to me and he's a lot happier. He's ready to do, and he's refreshed and, good to go.
But I think you and your husband have the mutual togetherness of pastoring together. And so you basically work together in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we do.
So, yeah, on the contrary, your husband, a lot of women's husbands go to work every day and they're not a part of that world.
Yeah.
So I think you guys already have so much mutual connection in your work life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What about you? How do you intentionally pursue your husband? I didn't get the chance to really think I had to answer that question, but I was gonna say not viewing him as the enemy, which is probably not a direct answer to that question. And I think that you've said this a lot of times. So with him, but I think there's very often times where you could think that something's harder for you and they don't see it, and it can be very easy to turn them into the enemy. Yes, who realize you're on the same team. We're on the same team. Yeah, and that's a gift to give your husband. If you can take on that mentality, you're not the object of my ire. We are on the same team, pursuing the same thing. Yeah, I think we walk through a lot of infertility, and that affects men differently. Yeah, and it's very easy. A lot of women will go through it and be like, you don't get it. You don't understand what I'm experiencing, because to them it's not. Maybe they're expressing it differently, and it feels different a little bit for them. And so I think for me it would just but at the same time realizing they're walking that road right there with you. They're in it with you. They may see it differently, but that doesn't mean that they're the enemy. It doesn't mean that they're against you. Anyways, that's fine. Not a good answer. But
That's just a good answer. That's a good answer. I think for me, one thing I realized is I kind of got into a habit of, I like to text my husband throughout the day. But I kind of got into a habit of only texting him when I was stressed out. Everything's crazy. I wish you were home, right? And so for him, I'm sure the message was not, oh, I miss you. It's, I miss you because I need you to come take care of the fires so I can leave. Not because I miss you and want to be with you. But really, if I have a choice to hang out with my husband, I always want to hang out with my husband. He's my favorite person. So I realized I kind of got into a habit of, when I would text him throughout the day, it was oftentimes about chaos happening at home. And not in a way that let him know, hey, I'm thinking about you. It sounded more like, I'm thinking about me and how you can meet a need for me. So I have started to try and shift that back to, I used to be a lot better about just hey, how you doing? How's your day going? And so and partly this is one, to be a support to my husband and be on his team, right? Intentionally pursue him, but also too, it's like a byproduct. It gets my head on straight. Is when I'm stressed out, instead of texting him about me being stressed out, I text him and ask him, how can I pray for you right now? Because one, I start thinking about him and his needs, and a way that I can bring those needs to the Lord for him. That's good. I started thinking about his day's probably tough too. It's not just me. He doesn't have a walk in the park at work. He transferred to a new position, and it's been a real challenge, and he doesn't work with a team anymore. So it's been lonely at work for him too. And so, the past several months, while it's been good for our family, this work transition, it's been hard for him. And I kind of realized, I haven't been expressing that I see that. And thank you for doing it anyway, because of how good it's been for our family. So I've been trying to connect in a way that just says, I love you and I'm thinking about you, not I'm thinking about you because everything is crazy, come home. Which I still think about him because everything is crazy, come home. But just especially because I know he can be lonely at work, not working with anyone. So just to have me reaching out and trying to bridge that loneliness of, I'm thinking about you. How can I pray for you today? How's your day going? You know, it's, I don't know. That's a way that I can pursue him.
That's smart.
Some laughing at his dad jokes. Oh Lord, my sweet husband's so good at the dad jokes. And even my sons just groan at him, and they love dad jokes. So I wrote down some things of ways that you can pursue your husband with intention. Spiritually, you can pray with him. You can share what God is teaching you. You can ask what God is teaching them. Start having those kind of conversations. Emotionally, ask open-ended questions. Listen intently. Physically, prioritize intimacy, not just sex, although prioritize that, but affection and presence. Practically, leave him notes, pack his favorite snack, initiate a date night. Do things that mean something to him. Take out the trash for him. Like, that's my husband's, one of his things that he does is he's the trash guy. He's the garbage man. Take it out for him so when he gets home from work, it's not a thing for him to do. It's already done. Rhythmically, you can build in regular check-ins like a weekly walk, a coffee catch-up. My kids are getting to the age where I have an almost 13-year-old. We could leave him to babysit for 20 minutes while my husband and I go on a walk after dinner. So, like, that's something we could start doing as just a way to connect.
Watch a show with him.
Watch his show with him.
Bring him breakfast instead.
Yeah. We watch some rodeo show now. That's our thing.
My husband would love it if I got up and did yoga with him, which I'm like, no. It's at 4 o'clock in the day.
You're not that age.
I'm there yet. I'm not there yet.
So a couple scriptures that I love to just kind of keep in mind as you're asking, okay, how do I intentionally pursue my husband? And maybe you're asking that question and you're like, oh no, I don't even know how to answer that. Maybe I don't intentionally pursue my husband. Here's a couple verses to consider and get creative. Let all that you do be done in love. 1 Corinthians 16:14. And then I really like this one from Proverbs 31. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. Like, can I say that my husband feels that way about me? Because that's one way that I can bring peace into his life if I'm a woman he has full confidence in. And then I bring value to his life. If you're struggling with comparison in your marriage, I want to encourage you, we don't have to talk long about this one, get off of social media.
Yeah.
Stop following all the cutesy couples and all the cutesy things if it's making you jealous or dissatisfied with your current situation. Focus on your marriage, not how everybody's got what you don't.
Or rom-coms.
Or want. I quit. I don't watch romantic comedies
like,
anymore.
yeah.
I watched them a lot, but then I noticed very early on in our marriage, I became suddenly dissatisfied with, well, my husband doesn't do that. Or some people can watch them and it doesn't bother them at all, and that's great. Me, it was bothering me, and it made me dissatisfied. And so I decided very early on in our marriage, I'm not going to watch them anymore.
I think something that I realized that was a game changer for me with a comparison in my marriage was that my relationship fulfills my needs and his needs, or it should. Your relationship fulfills your needs and your husband's needs, not mine. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
It really isn't any of my business. Like I would, my sister would argue with her husband, and it would really bother me. And I thought that, their relationship was in trouble, but it was just the way that they communicated. That's how they chose to communicate. That's their house, not mine. But, if I compare my relationship to her relationship, then I would think either there's something wrong with her or there's something wrong with me. But it's fulfilling a need that in that relationship. Maybe they both like to argue. They're more like lawyers, and, they like to have
The back and forth.
back and forth. I don't like that. So
I think that's something to keep in mind when you start going down that road of comparison, is that, if you're comparing your relationship to someone else's, remember that your relationship has different needs than their relationship. And if you have needs that are not being met, then you need to come to a place of conversation with your spouse and bring those things up. Like, if your love tank is feeling empty, you need to talk to them about that. But that's a whole different conversation.
Your husband cannot read your mind. No, he can't. Communication is so important, but you also have to also remember that he will not meet every need.
No.
Only the Lord can do that. Yes. And we cannot that's when we expect our spouse to meet.
Not your everything.
If we expect him to meet our every need, then
We're setting him up for failure.
yes, we're setting him up for failure, and we've put him on the throne of our lives instead of the Lord.
Yeah. And we're setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Yes.
I think in that God is not calling you to fix your husband. I think that Billy Graham's wife is like, you're not my husband's Holy Spirit. That's right. I'm called to walk faithfully with him. And even in difficult seasons, if you are in a difficult season in your marriage, hope remains when Christ is the center. So you can't fix him. You can only fix you with Jesus. So go to Jesus. Work on that. You are not too far gone to have a thriving marriage. Every day is an opportunity to plant seeds that will bear fruit. And sometimes it takes a long time for fruit to show up. But it does when you tend it. Jackie Hill Perry said this, and I loved it. You can't do marriage well without Jesus in the center of it.
Right.
He doesn't just strengthen the bond. He is the bond. So in closing, we're going to recap. You are valued, heard, and seen and called in your marriage. Submission is sacred, not shameful. It's not a dirty word. It's a wonderful, beautiful gift. Intentionality is powerful in your marriage to revive it, to grow it, and to deepen it, even in small ways. So we just want to encourage you, if you're great in your marriage or if you're struggling in your marriage, there's always room for growth. So ask yourself, what's one small way I can pursue my husband today? And instead of, if you're struggling with your husband, instead of thinking about all the ways you wish he wasn't and all the things you wish he was, start with gratitude and listing all the ways you love him and why, what drew you to him, how wonderful he is, all the things you adore about him, all the gifts he has, and thank God and pray blessings over him, and God will change your heart. And he's a work in progress, just like we are, even if we think we've arrived sometimes. So I hope today's episode was encouraging to you, and go home and love your husband, make him a meal, do all the things married people do. And we'll catch you next time on the podcast.
Such great insight from the rest of the team about what it really means to have godly submission and the mutual intention that it takes, and the way that God really designed it. One of the things one way that I intentionally love my husband is learning, and by all means, I am definitely growing in this every single day. But it's loving my husband in his love language, not my love language. Tanya talked about this a little bit. And I think that that's so critical to a marriage. Oftentimes, we give love the way that we receive love. And one of the things that I've found in my own marriage is that just because I think that I am loving my husband well doesn't mean that he is receiving it well, because that's not the way that he receives love. And so one of the things that I've had to do is be very intentional about loving him the way that he knows how to receive love. And so even though for me, my love language is acts of service or physical touch, my husband's love language is words of affirmation and quality time. And so it wasn't enough for me to just have the entire house done and cook dinner after a full day's worth of work. That was me saying, honey, I love you. I want you to come home into a peaceful atmosphere so that you can walk through those doors and not have this chore list, but rather go, ah. And that was the way that I was trying to love him well. But what he was seeing in place was, oh, she doesn't want to spend time with me, because I was not giving him the quality time and the affirmation that he needed to feel that love. And so that was definitely a learning experience for me and my husband, was learning how to be intentional, because those are not my God-given love languages, right? Um, it was a little uncomfortable. It was not a second nature type of thing. It was something that I had to intentionally put effort in. It's not something that I was able to fall into. And I sometimes, even now, knowing what I know, it's really easy when things get busy or life gets crazy to fall back into those natural patterns of habit where, oh, I'm going to make sure that all of the tasks are done, right? And I have to remind myself on the regular that it's not about the tasks, it's about the people. And so that is a way that I am able to intentionally chase after my husband's heart. And I think that's really important, is we need to chase after their heart, just like we chase after God's heart. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and join us back here 2 weeks from today for our next episode podcast. Also, head on over to www.prettyandwise.com for all of the latest and greatest regarding all things Pretty and Wise. We'll see you in a couple weeks.